Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot. We're going to be going through New Zealand versus West Indies, a series review, and I've got with me Ashad from Cricket4Us 2.0. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. How about you? You excited?
Yes, I'm excited. Very well one-sided series that we have to review, but I'm also excited about all the upcoming cricket coming as well. So, yeah, it's been busy, but very good. So,
That's
so let's go straight into this then. New Zealand completely destroying West Indies uh, at home. And yeah, what's your first thoughts on the series as a whole?
Williamson was the leading run scorer of the tournament and of the series, and he played one innings. And the second person played four innings, and he was from West Indies,
Yeah,
and he still had 35 less runs than Kane Williamson. That's my takeaway from the series.
yeah. I mean, obviously, it was only a two-match Test series, and Kane Williamson with that
Still
251,
crazy.
just
Yeah,
incredible knock, which I think that is definitely his Test high.
yeah.
Score, so he'll be really happy with that. Unfortunately, he didn't get to play the second one because he was on paternity leave, which is probably lucky for West Indies because they would have lost even. They could have been beaten even worse in that second test, even though they lost by an innings in both test matches. I mean, they must be looking at that West Indies and thinking this is a tour to forget, and we really need to build on it. Surely, Ashton, right?
Yeah. No, it's one thing is just from the start, I have no idea why Jason Holder won the toss and elected to bowl both times. West Indies, as of late, have had a terrible record in Test matches bowling first. I think the percentages they were talking about was about 20% chance they could win the game, and if they batted first, they've had like a 65% chance of winning the game, right? And it made no sense. But the only logical concept I can think of is because the pitches are so green that it makes the person believe that it's a bowling track when clearly, as you saw from New Zealand's batting, it was pretty flat.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned to you earlier that the pitches are maybe deceivingly uh, green because when you have a green top, you automatically assume that it's going to be a bowling track. Although to be honest, we say that, but then I guess New Zealand skittled West Indies in a couple of the innings. So either it was a combination of you know good bowling from New Zealand and bad batting from West Indies, or maybe the pitch did play a little bit of a contributing factor as well. But I mean, Williamson, especially in that first test, and then Nicholls with that 170 in the second test, made it look both pitches. They made them look like they were basically roads. Um,
Henry Nicholls, has had terrible, terrible past 2 years. Like his
yeah,
averages were down in the 30s and in the
yeah.
20s.
He was
But this
opening,
year,
wasn't he? Before he was an opener.
yeah, and they put him down, and now he's performing. He's basically kickstarted his form back again, just in time for the Pakistan series,
Yeah,
which is great, isn't it? And
yeah.
he scored that 170. But one person I was really impressed with was actually Will Young. I think this was his second Test match, and he played well for the 47 he scored. And I thought it wasn't a perfect replacement because you can't replace someone like Kane Williamson, but it was good to have someone, a young player, kind of, or less experienced player, more like
Yeah.
joining the side, batting at number 3, and getting that experience and making runs.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really interesting. Uh, I think I discussed this with you earlier in when we did the T20 series that I thought someone like Devon Conway could play Test matches just
Yeah.
because of the way he plays. I think it's very interesting to see whether he will get a chance at some point in the Test arena. Maybe if someone is injured, for example, then maybe he'll get a chance and like Labuschagne did for Australia,
Yeah.
be able to kind of
Mm-hmm.
cement his place in there. Also, very interesting that Tom Latham, who obviously is normally a wicketkeeper batsman, was playing as an out-and-out batsman, and they had BJ Watling being
Yeah.
the wicketkeeper batsman. So shows how valuable Tom Latham is to them in Test matches. They're just so strong, aren't they? New Zealand as a Test outfit. I mean, bowling wise, I touched upon this with Venu in his cricket catch up, and he was saying to me that New Zealand's bowling is just so good. I mean, they open up with Tim Southey and Trent Bolt, who are experienced campaigners, and then you've got Neil Wagner who comes in, Carl Jameson who's 6'8", bowling 85 plus miles an hour, swinging the ball, and they've got Darren Mitchell as well, and of course they've got Mitchell Santner as well if they need. Although actually, am I wrong? No, I'm wrong. No Mitchell Santner, sorry, on this occasion. But yeah, I mean that's just. What do you think of their bowling?
I said this in my review of this the second test match plug, right? So basically, the thing is, the only other side I can think of that has the type of backing of such great fast bowlers is England, because England were playing Anderson, Broad, Wokes, and Archer all together, right, in one of their matches, in the test matches. And I think the only other comparison to New Zealand is England. With teams like New Zealand, what they've done is they don't need a spinner. In New Zealand, they don't even need a spinner. Like,
that's true.
All three games, both of these games, they've gone out with all-out pace. And people like Kyle Jameson, he's got 20 wickets in like 4 games, right? You've got Neil Wagner, who has a very deceptive bouncer and then an amazing Yorker that he bowls, that he got Shannon Gabriel out twice in 2 separate games. Similar delivery. He just bowls really well. Tim Southee and Trent Boult, everyone knows about. So I don't want to go too far along about their bowling. Like, I think you mentioned in the venue cricket catch-up that together they've got over 300 wickets in test matches or something, which is madness. On top of that, Neil Wagner is just so good. He just comes out, takes wickets, and I always think of him as the guy who's he's the second left-arm fast bowler, but he's turning into he's the left-arm pacer, and then there's also Trent Boult, right? So he's changing that perception, which is absolutely amazing. And Kyle Jameson, the less I talk about him the more I talk about him still isn't enough, because he's, as you said, 6'8", but he pitches the ball up and gets that bounce. He swings the ball and just deceives the batsman, especially with that angle. It reminds me a bit of Joel Garner and Stephen Finn kind of mix. Okay. If you remember when Steve Finn was bowling quite well, he used to pitch up the ball and it was kind of deceptive. And let's hope New Zealand keep doing this, because they're so good in the bowling department. I think they're probably, controversial statement, probably the best pace attack in the world right now in test matches.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree, actually, to be honest with you. It might be controversial because I guess you could look at England or Australia maybe. But yeah, I think in terms of variation, the fact they've also got 2 right-handers and 2 left-handers, that makes a big difference. It really does to have that variation in there, and it makes life really difficult. And it's not just the case of all their bowlers are similar. They're not. Because, as you said, Carl Jameson is a giant. Then you've got Neil Wagner, you've got Trent Boult, swings the ball a lot. Tim Southee, they're all very different, slightly different paces, slightly different, angles. It just makes for a very, very good pace attack. And the fact that Tim Southee took 12 wickets, Carl Jameson 11, Neil Wagner 9 in the whole, Test series, I think says it all. I mean, they were just way too good for West Indies, and I think Venu has stressed a lot when I've talked to him about it, about how West Indies batting is so poor at the moment. And someone that I think personally has been very disappointing is Darren Bravo, who is supposed to be, when he was coming up, he was seen as being the next Brian Lara, the next big thing. And he just hasn't quite fulfilled his potential, I think. And he should be that player at 3 who is solid, and he just doesn't seem to be that. What's your opinion on that?
I completely agree with you. It was about 10, 12 years ago when he said his favorite player is Dwayne Bravo. And in that video where you were talking about. And thing is, he should have said Brian Lara, because that's what he wants to be like, but he's not anywhere even close right now, right? The way he gets out is so simple. It's not even, it's a beautiful delivery. That's why he got out. He's just playing outside the line of the ball, just out of nowhere. And it kind of confuses me that a player who I've seen for at least 8 years now, right? His potential is still at the bottom. He's like, Asad Shafiq is probably the best Pakistani example I could give you. He's like Asad Shafiq. He has not fulfilled the potential that everyone thought he had. He's still, he's batting at 3, isn't he? 3 or 4. right?
3, yeah, 3 or 4.
And he definitely needs to do something with, maybe it's with his technique, maybe it's confidence, I don't know. But yeah, I definitely thought he should have performed a lot better. One person I think who has been performing well, and
Yep.
he was in our test summer 11, if you want to link that video above here, is Jermaine Blackwood.
Yeah,
This
quality.
guy, yeah, quality, right? Every game he scored some sort of decent score to
Yep.
kind of help West Indies from a collapse. Fine, he can't do it all by himself. The only person who's kind of helped him out is Jason Holder, which
Yep.
is the captain, which is fair enough. But Jermaine Blackwood is very talented. He's kind of not wasted because the top 5 are doing absolutely nothing. So he's not wasted. But if they were performing, he would be wasted down there. But I think definitely what West Indies need to go back and look at is Brooks good enough to be in the side? Is Darren Bravo good enough to be in the side? John Campbell finally did make a 50, but again, got out on 2 in the next innings or something like that, right? He's good, but all these players are obviously very talented, but they're not performing how West Indies would like them to perform. And I'm a bit, it's just a shock, isn't it? It's West Indies, and they just lost 2 test matches by an innings, and in one of them, the best player from the New Zealand side wasn't even there. The captain wasn't even there.
Yeah, it's just it's a sad state of affairs for West Indies Test cricket for sure. I think I mentioned this to Venu and he said it to me as well. And I think it's very important to stress that I think 2020 cricket has been good for a lot of people, but for West Indies to a degree, it's ruined their Test cricket because, like Pakistan, their players don't get paid an awful lot. And it's funny because Andre Russell, for example, wasn't in the T20s against New Zealand because he was playing in the Lanka Premier League. Now you think that obviously he's one of their best T20 players. He will be in the T20 World Cup, but he missed that series. And the West Indies chairman or head of president of the West Indies said, "Oh, I can't hold it against him because he's trying to earn a living." And the issue is that they've basically resigned themselves to losing players to franchise cricket instead of West Indies when they have series, and it's because they're underpaying their players. It's just really sad to see, and there's a similar, obviously, example with Pakistan and some of the players as well. It's tough because Test cricket is a grueling format. It's 5 days. You have to really commit to it, and it's also a game of patience and most of all, a state of mind and having that strength of mind. But the issue is that they're growing up. A lot of these players now playing CPL, and all they want to play is T20 cricket, or they know that that's how they're going to get the money from the sport. So what's happening is a lot of the players that could be playing Test cricket are not. For example, Shimron Hetmyer and Pooran. These 2 players are very talented, yet they're not playing Test cricket. Shea Hope has been dropped because he's lost form, but he was very good like a year or so ago. They're just struggling. Joshua De Silva got 50. He was a bit of a bright spot because he's wicketkeeper batsman and he got it on his debut in the second test. But they can't rely on Jason Holder all the time to do it because look, he's just it's too much to ask of him. And bowling wise, they just look really pedestrian as well. So they've got a lot to they've got a lot to work on. Do you think we'll ever see West Indies in our lifetime back in a strong position in Test matches, Ashad?
I'd like to think so. We saw a bit of Kimar Holder. He was a decent bowler. A lot of the commentators were saying his run-up and action is a little similar to Jofra Archer. I personally didn't see it, but they did mention that it was, so maybe that's someone they can groom a lot more. Shannon Gabriel has played 50 Test matches. He's taken over 150 wickets. He's good. Kemar Roach is a really good bowler, but unfortunately he had to take leave for the second test. I think the big thing for me is West Indies need to sort out their bowling, right? Because once their bowling kind of stacks up, those scores of 460 become scores of 260. When these scores become 260, the batting will become more confident. Oh, we can go past that number. On top of that, I think they had 7 drops in the first innings when West Indies bowled in the second test match, right? Fine, seven drops doesn't sound like too many if you're bowling 100 overs, right? 100 blah, blah overs. But again, if you're dropping people like Henry Nicholls, who scored 174, if you're bowling that, badly is not the right word, but if you're not bowling well enough, that Neil Wagner is going to smash you for 66 or 42 deliveries, then there's something wrong with the bowling, right? And it might be the case that Pakistan do, God forbid, the same thing that West Indies have just done, right? But I'd say exactly the same thing to them, because it's very, very disappointing to see a team such as West Indies, who were on top of the world for over 10 years, at least 10 years, let's put it that way, and then being at this quality where they're losing by an innings to New Zealand, right? And they're not batting well. The bowling is pedestrian at best. It's really just like one of the teams I'd mentioned, Australia. They had their big peak of 10 years where they just didn't lose. Then they started losing, and they recouped in about 3-4 years. They found people like Smith. They found people like Warner, like Finch, like what's his name, like
Labuschagne.
Lyon, like Labuschagne eventually as well. Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood. Just think, right? But West Indies aren't producing those players.
Yeah.
New Zealand, it's an island. It's an island of 20 million people, right? Not 20 million. Sorry, not many people. I can't remember how many, but it's not that many people, right? 6 million or something like that. And in that, they found such amazing bowlers, such amazing batsmen. West Indies is similar type of state, but I don't know what, and I think what you're talking about is completely right. It's the infrastructure. It's the monetary side of it, because of which people are going out. Huron, Hetmeyer, Russell, Bravo, Pollard, right? All these players are going and leaving national duty to go make money.
Yeah, it's not. Look, obviously we're not West Indies supporters, but it's really sad to see, to us, just as a cricket fan. And the fact that, as you said, Neil Wagner hit, a 50, which was at strike rate of like whatever it was, 120 in a Test match, and Cole Jameson hit 50 as well. That these players, they come down a little bit, but they shouldn't be scoring. You shouldn't see people at the, batting whatever 9 or 10, 8, 9, 10, scoring regular 50s against you. So it's it's not great, but we'll see. Hopefully they can they showed a glimpse of how good they can be in England in the summer, where they drew the series. And I think that showed that they do have the ability to, but it's consistency, and that's where quality of players and also mentality comes into it. And as you said, 7 drop catches. Like, you're never going to win a Test match if you drop 7 catches in an inning. So it's just impossible. But yeah. Anyway, let's see how they go. And Pakistan, of course, are going to be playing New Zealand next. So they've got a very tall order to beat them at home. So we'll see how that goes. And West Indies are going to have to lick their wounds and come back again, I'm sure.
I think they've got a series against Bangladesh next, West Indies. So maybe that could spice up their life and bring them into confidence or something.
Yeah, I mean, Bangladesh are not a minnow side anymore, are they? So it will be a competitive series, but obviously not as. I don't think it should be as hard as the New Zealand series. So hopefully they can get some type of momentum, whatever it is, against Bangladesh. Anyway, okay, I think that's me done. Usher, do you have anything else you want to touch upon before we wrap up?
Thank you for having me on. Brilliant to talk about it. Sorry, I got a bit emotional and a bit too aggressive about West Indies. I just really used to like them, and I just became a bit emotional. So apologies, but no, thank you for having me.
No, they're a very fun nation to watch. And I think maybe the reason why we get a little bit emotional about West Indies is because Pakistan. There's a lot of similarities between West Indies and Pakistan.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is unfortunate because both teams probably get underpaid, etc. Blah blah. And so there's those similarities to draw upon. But yeah, okay. Thanks very much, guys. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to Usher's channel, Cricket4Us 2.0, and of course subscribe to my channel if you haven't and you're still watching. Subscribe to Quality Shot. There's a watermark on the bottom right, and there'll also be a subscription button as well at the end of the video. Stay safe, guys, and I'll speak to you on the next video. Thank you very much.